All right, before you multiply rational numbers, what you need to do is reduce where you can. And 3 goes into negative 9, negative 3 times, and into 12, 4 times. So the first thing we can do is identify, when we're doing multiplication, the 5 over negative 8, this whole fraction is negative, and this whole fraction is also negative, negative 3 over 4. So we know the answer is going to be positive. Then we multiply the numerators. So 5 threes is 15 over 8 times 4 is 32. And it doesn't reduce any more than that. Now, here, when we look at the answer, this is a positive times a negative. So we know that the solution is going to be negative. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to ignore the sign right at the moment, but it is still negative. So 13 goes into itself once and into 39 3 times. 15 goes into itself once and into 30 2 times. So we end up with 1 times 2, which is 2, over 1 times 3, which is really negative 3. So it's negative 2 over 3. And that is in lowest terms. Now, to divide fractions, what you need to do is multiply the fraction by the reciprocal. So this stays as 3 over 7. We change this to times, and it's going to be 14 over negative 9. And the negative, so this is a positive times a negative, so the answer is going to be negative. Now we can reduce. 7 goes into itself once and into 14 2 times. And 3 goes into itself once and into 9 3 times. So we end up with 1 times 2 is 2 over 1 times 3, which is 3. So the answer is negative 2 over 3. Same thing here. We can deal with the signs. So it's a negative divided by a negative. That'll be a positive. And a positive divided by a negative will be a negative. So a positive divided by a negative, the answer will be negative. So I've dealt with the signs. Now I'm just going to deal with the numbers themselves. And when we rewrite this, it's going to be 24 over 35 times 21 over 16. And again, I brought the sign, I've dealt with the sign, so we know that the answer is going to be negative. So when we simplify, you should recognize that 8 goes into 16 2 times and into 24 3 times. And 7 goes into 21 3 times and into 35 5 times. So then we multiply the numerators. The answer is going to be negative. We still have the negative up front. 3 times 3 is 9 over 5 times 2 is 10. So the answer is negative 9/10. All right, so for adding and subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. Lowest common denominator is 35. And the equivalent fraction for 4 over 7 with a denominator of 35, we have to multiply top and bottom by 5. So it's going to be 20 over 35 and 21 over 35. We add the numerators, so 41 over, and keep the denominator, 35. So the answer is 41 over 35. Next question, common denominator is 15. And so we're going to write this as negative, and I'm going to multiply top and bottom. In this case, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by negative 3 because it's going to end up with as negative 12 over 15 plus 14 over 15. And get in the habit of moving the negative sign in the denominator to the numerator. The whole number, the entire fraction is negative. So now I have to add the numerators. So negative 12 plus 14 is 2. and you keep the denominator, so it's 2 over 15. Next question, find common denominator. So the common denominator is going to be 9, so this is negative 6 over 9 plus negative 4 over 9 is equal to negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10 over 9 is negative 10 ninths. It doesn't reduce. Here, common denominator is going to be 18, so this will be 14 over 18 minus, multiply top and bottom by 3, is equal to 11 over 18. Lowest common denominator here is 30. And so you're going to multiply top and bottom here by 5. So this will be 25 minus, and multiply top and bottom by 3. So it's 27. It equals negative, so 25 minus 27 is negative 2 over, keep the denominator, and this reduces to negative 1 over 15. So just be careful, make sure that you check to see if your answer reduces. This question, already have a common denominator. This is negative 5, subtract 3 is negative 8 over 8. But you should recognize that that is equal to negative 1. Right, for this one, we have minus a negative, so we can change that to plus positive, because when you subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. And so now, when we write this with a common denominator, it's going to be negative 7 over 8 plus 2 over 8. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5 over 8. Okay, order of operation, we have to do the division before we do the subtraction. So we rewrite the 7 over 6 minus, and it'll be 3 over 5. And we're going to, when you divide, you multiply by the reciprocal. So this will be 7 over 6 minus, and if I consider what's inside the bracket here, the second bracket, this is a positive times a negative, so we know that our answer is going to be negative. And 3 goes into itself once, and into 6 2 times. So that means that the answer is going to be negative 7 over 10. The 1 times 7 over the 5 times 2. Again, we have a subtract the negative, so that is the same as add the opposite, so plus positive. And our common denominator is going to be 30, so we have to multiply top and bottom by 5. So this will be 35 over 30 plus 21 over 30 is equal to 56 over 30. And those are two even numbers, so you should recognize that both are divisible by 2. So this is 28 over 15. Okay, next question. Do the multiplication before you do the addition. So negative 6 over 5 plus, and we're going to reduce here. 5 goes into itself once, and into 10 2 times. But then the 2's reduce, 1 and 1. So we have a negative times a negative, so the answer is going to be a positive, and it's going to be 3 over 1, or 3. So we have to find a common denominator, which is going to be 5. So negative 6 over 5 plus 15 over 5 is equal to 9 over 5. Negative 6 plus 15 is 9.